What's up guys, my name is Agent Psycho, and I'm going to be bringing you guys the 5th chapter of my Exploring the Arsenal series with me, Agent Psycho, aka Total Sniper 98. And I hope you guys enjoyed the previous chapter, the one on the Uzi. I know that was really short because obviously the Uzi doesn't really have any variants. And same goes for this chapter as well. The MAC10 does not have any other variants, so this is going to be the only episode in this chapter, so let's get right into it. So the MAC10 has a damage of 33. So in this video, you're gonna be hearing me compare the MAC10 to the Uzi a lot because those two SMGs I think are very similar in that at least in real life they're one-handable. And if you don't know what I mean by that, you can hold these submachine guns with just one hand, and you can possibly even dual wield them if you're good enough. So yeah, you're gonna be seeing me compare these two a lot. So compared to the Uzi, it's 3 points more powerful. So it in game it really does feel much more powerful. I feel I can drop targets faster. So yeah, it's the added 3-point damage is a bonus for the or a good thing for the MAC10 coming from the Uzi. The portability on the MAC10 is identical to the Uzi at 85, so that's understandable, I guess. The rate of fire on the MAC10 is also at a very high 90. So as you can see, the Uzi and the MAC10 are very similar in that they're both spray weapons. Rather low damage but very sprayable submachine guns. Now here's where they get a little bit different. Well, besides damage, that is. The accuracy on the MAC10 is at a 60, whereas the Uzi, as I mentioned before in my last video, has an accuracy of 63, and the MAC10 over the Uzi's 65 recoil has a 75 recoil. So you can see here clearly from just the statistics alone that the MAC10 is intended to be a more spray and pray submachine gun than the Uzi. Even though they're both kind of spray and pray guns, the Uzi is a lot more stable, whereas the MAC10 is really just like spray and pray down the corridor and hope you get some kind of headshot or something like that kind of gun. And I can really feel that the MAC10 really does feel more powerful, except the recoil on that MAC10 is a lot more wilder. Grammar fail, than the Uzi. So if you guys want to just have some random spraying fun, the MAC10 is definitely a very good choice for that. Now going to the recoil spread. The recoil spread is like the Uzi, except for the fact that I don't know, the Uzi is a little bit more controllable in my opinion. Whereas the MAC10, is just like the recoil pattern is unpredictable. It might be predictable, but then it's really hard to do so. So the Uzi is a lot more stable, and the MAC10 is kind of like all over the place, and not really easy to control, if you guys know what I mean. And for the recoil kickback, it's the same as I just said. The recoil kickback on the MAC10 is a lot crazier than it is on the Uzi. Recoil controllability, because you can see from the stats, the MAC10 has 10 more points of recoil than the Uzi does, so it's pretty obvious that the MAC10, without even playing with it, the recoil controllability on the MAC10 is going to be a lot tougher than it is on the Uzi. Now going to its Tapfire ability, the MAC10, unlike the Uzi, does have scope attachments available, but I really don't recommend like putting any kind of scope on it. And in this game, you'll see me kind of try Tapfire with the iTech, except it doesn't really work out that way or it doesn't really work out well because the MAC10's high recoil scoped in is pretty impractical for Tapfire. And also, what I mean that, or kind of explain more on that, is that per shot while scoped in, the MAC10 jumps around too much, and with its rate of fire of 90, you might shoot 2 bullets at once when you want to shoot only 1. So it's gonna be very hard to Tapfire with this gun. So Tapfire ability is pretty difficult. Moving on to its center speed. The center speed on the MAC10 is, I would have to say, faster than the Uzi. I'm not too positive on this, but then the center speed does feel very good. That's what she said. And yeah, so the center speed, you can take down people and quickly switch to another target if you at a different distance pretty easily, more easily so than the Uzi, except I mean it is a submachine gun, so you might have to be careful on that. Moving on to its reload speed. This is where the Uzi is a little bit better than the MAC10 in that respect. The MAC10, I do have an extended mag 1 on this, so please do keep that in mind. The MAC10 does reload pretty decently. It's faster than some other submachine guns, so at least that's good, right? So without a silencer on it, or not a silencer, what I'm saying, without an extended mag on it, it'll reload pretty fast. Except the Uzi still beats it in that category. Moving on to its fire modes, the MAC10 only comes in full auto, so nothing really special there. Moving on to its luck, the MAC10 I feel like is a lot more headshot festy kind of gun than the Uzi. I don't know, but I just get a lot more headshots with the MAC10 than I do with the Uzi. It's just how it goes, I guess. I don't really have a specific reason as to why, but I mean, I just get a lot more headshots, or more headshots by definitely with the MAC10 than I do with the Uzi. So I'm gonna have to say the luck on the MAC10 is relatively high. Moving on to its ammo capacity, the ammo capacity on the MAC10 is at a standard 30 rounds per magazine and 90 in reserve. Or yeah, 30 rounds in magazine and 90 in reserve. And for the key physical characteristics, it looks like a box gun. Honestly speaking, that's what I thought when I first saw it in other games like the MAC10. If you guys remember, or if you guys have played the Flash game Heli Attack 2, you would know that there was a weapon called the MAC10, and it shot 2 bullets at once. And that's where I was first introduced to the gun, the MAC10. And I was like, "Whoa, it looks sort of like a box gun." And I used to call it the box gun for a long time until I started playing with other guns. And I slowly kind of forgot about the MAC10. And then now when I'm doing it now, I was like, "Hey, it's a box gun again." So if you see me say, "God damn it, it's the box gun," then just keep in mind that I'm probably talking about the MAC10. And yeah, that's it for its key physical characteristics. It just looks like a box gun, and it does have that weird kind of I don't know what you call it, kind of like a foldable stock on the back, kind of like the Uzi. But it looks like 2 railings on the back. So for its muzzle noise, it sounds pretty similar to the Uzi, if not the same. It's like a high-pitched kind of clackety noise. So yeah, people will be able to hear you spray with a MAC10 from a good distance away if you don't have a silencer on this thing. Moving on to its attachment options, you can attach any kind of attachment on it, silencers, magazine modifications, or suppressors, or sights rather. And is it Fireteam worthy? I would tend to stay away from submachine guns in general for Fireteam, Black Lung and Cabin Fever, that is, because heavier damage and slower firing weapons are typically better for Fireteam unless you got a minigun or something. Then yeah, so MAC10 I wouldn't recommend you bring it unless you want to have some lotto fun with zombies or something. Is it quarantine worthy? Yes, because with its fast portability of 85 and fast rate of fire at 90, you're going to definitely be able to keep zombies at bay when you're trying to run away from them and such. And moving on to my frank personal opinions. The MAC-10 is not a very practical weapon like the Uzi, unless you're my friend, protagonist, who makes the Uzi look like the best submachine gun in the world. You shouldn't really use MAC-10 other than just for just wacky, wonky lotto fun with some weapon that you haven't tried in a long time. So, I mean, I can see how the MAC-10 can be used to for practical purposes, because the MAC-10 is relatively powerful for its rate of fire at 33 and 90. Well, it has a higher DPS than the Uzi at least. So I can see someone using the MAC-10 as their primary go-to submachine gun, but then there are so many other better submachine guns that is better at what it does than the MAC-10 that I mean, I think you're better off just using something else. So yeah, those are my frank personal opinions, and moving on to its final rating. My final rating for the MAC-10 is about a 90 at close range. And let's see, middle range, I would have to say it's better than the Uzi, so I'm gonna have to give this thing about a let's see, hold on, let me, okay, better than the Uzi. I'm gonna have to give this thing about a 77 at middle range, because middle range, you can depend on that lotto factor for the MAC10, except because it is submachine gun, and submachine guns tend to have pretty bad damage drop off at range. Still not very good at middle range anyway. And moving on to, let's see, actually not a 77, what am I talking about? Probably like a 65 or something. And, moving on to its long range, I don't really recommend using this for long range, so I'm gonna have to give it about a 20. So that gives a final rating of a 58.33%. So, once again guys, I just want to mention, or I just want to, kind of emphasize the fact that the Uzi and the MAC10 are two kind of brother submachine guns. It's just that they're kind of inversely flipped in some of their stats. The Uzi is a more stable and better controllable submachine gun, but then the MAC10 is a more powerful, except more kind of recoil crazy submachine gun. So although there are some key differences between the two, in that the Uzi cannot attach any, you can't attach any kind of sight on the Uzi, and on the MAC10 you can attach any kind of sight. But then the MAC10 costs 800 GP a day, whereas the Uzi only costs 700 GP a day because of the fact that you can't attach any kind of scope on it. So make sure to keep those Make sure to keep those two those key differences in mind. Also, before I forget, the Uzi does have a significantly faster reload speed than the MAC10. So if you do want to get, if you do care about reload speeds a lot, then I do suggest you guys try out the Uzi over the MAC10, because the Uzi does have a faster reload speed than the MAC10. Once again guys, this has been the 5th chapter of my Exploring the Arsenal series with me, Asian Psycho, aka Toho Sniper 98. I'm going to be jumping into the 6th chapter, the MP5 A4's family, right after this. So hope you guys have enjoyed, guys, and hopefully this has kind of let you guys know about what guns are good and what guns are not. Once again, guys, this has been Asian Psycho, and I will be seeing y'all later in my MP5 chapter of my Exploring the Arsenal series. Thanks, guys, and have a good day. Peace.